I had recently posted a video about how to deal with negative thoughts, and I had said I would put few more suggestions on what can be done to deal with the negative thoughts. Let's just quickly remind ourselves the purpose of the negative thoughts. So back in the days when we were still cavemen and hunting for food, looking around, there were dangers all around, and the negative thoughts helped us to do a good risk assessment and take adequate precautions. So the negative thoughts were more of cautions in the head, and they were very helpful. However, we have moved into the more civilized society, but the thoughts remain, except that the way they come up these days is different. You don't think of the lion that's lurking in the corner. It's more of, oh, is this going to be a good outcome from this testing that I'm doing, or and so on. The environment that we live in has an important role in the thoughts that are stored in our brains. And one of the influences of thoughts is the information that we feed our brain. While being up to speed with the current affairs is a good idea, yes, we need to know what's going on in the world, but it should not start consuming you or your headspace. News these days is not really news the way it was reported back in the days, with no emotion attached, and it is not always the fact that is being reported. It is usually a twisted narrative that is being presented to us, and it varies depending on who is going to tell you the piece of news. News has now become a program which is being hosted or run for TRP ratings, and the debates are usually provocative, and they take sides depending on who's funding the channel, perhaps. It's not just important to choose the news, the source of the news, but it is also important to limit our exposure to these news feed. Unfortunately, at this day and age, social media is a big source of so-called news, and with everyone having a camera, pretty much everyone has a camera these days, and everyone having a camera, they become a pseudo reporter or a journalist. So the rules and the etiquettes of journalism and reporting are out of window. So people forward things without understanding whether it is true or not. You just get uncensored information being transmitted left, right, and center. And often it comes to you even when you had not asked for it. So people forward it on your WhatsApp feed or your Facebook feed. You can almost not unsee some of the things that you have already seen in there. Some of us may think that we are beyond the influence of this news. We don't really get affected by this news. But unfortunately, the brain is taking in a lot of information, whether it's consciously while you're listening to the news feed, or while you're just allowing it to play in the background as you are working away on your laptop. Things are still going in, and that has a huge bearing on your emotional state and the thoughts. There is also what is called the negativity bias, and like I explained before, when we were cavemen, this has an evolutionary reason, the negativity bias, because back in those days, the negative thoughts helped us to keep us safe and make sure that we took sensible actions. So the negative information that is coming into us has a lot of impact, whether we like to admit it or not. You may not be able to shut your eyes and ears, but there are still certain things that you could do to deal with these better. Here are some of the things that you can do. Limit your newsfeed time. TV or social media, endless scrolling on your Facebook feed or your WhatsApp feed. Limit it to, say, 30 minutes a day, and pretty much have a set time during which you will do that. Get your news feed either around midday or mid-morning-ish or early. I wouldn't do it early morning because I don't want to upset the day as it starts, but midday, mid-morning is probably an ideal time to have the news feed. The reason I say so is because it then gives your brain enough time to process what you have consumed, and by and large it would be negative things that has gone in. If you leave it until later in the day, you're probably carrying all those baggage into your bed and struggle to sleep. So give your brain enough time to process all this information. Another important thing is to understand what the news means to you. So like I said, sometimes you just can't help it. You have seen it, or it's just come to you, you've learned about this particular news, and that's it, you can't unsee it. But flip it the other side and understand, what should I learn from this? Is there anything that I should do at the back of this news article or news item? So for example, the current scenario is everywhere the corona cases are rising. One day it goes up, other day it goes down, and so on. But at the end of the day, what I as an individual can do is extremely limited. I can be cautious, I can wear face masks, I can limit my exposure in the crowd, I can wash my hands, use the alcohol gel rub, and so on. But no matter how much news feed I get about the corona cases, the amount of things that I can do is only so much. There's a limited amount of things that I can do, and as long as I keep doing that, I do not have to necessarily worry, because worrying is not going to lead to anything, or bother. I don't have to give this any further thought. The next thing that you could do is, don't fall trap to catchy headlines. Often you would have seen how the headline says one thing, and then you read the article and say, why did they even say that in the headline? Because the news has now become a commodity, and they want to glorify it. They want to wrap it in a way that it attracts attention. It is not reported as a fact or as it happened. It is people's interpretation that gets reported. And don't get too involved in provocative debates. For all you know, they are getting paid for what they are saying, and it is us that is taking the burden of all those negativity and having to deal with them later. We're all modern enough to understand that feeding junk food to the body is unhealthy. But we probably don't understand enough that feeding over negativity to the brain is unhealthy as well. So limit the negative inputs that go into the brain. And where they do come in, because like I said, they do make their way into our brain, what you have to do is put them in perspective rather than holding on to them as a baggage and struggling to deal with them. So understand what's in it for you, look at your learning, change your approach to the news, process it, conclude it, and move on. I hope this helps you deal with some of the negativity that comes into our life, which, like I said, sometimes cannot be helped. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and do share with your friends if they would benefit from it. I will see you in another video, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you.